Epictetus, c. 55–135 CE, was one of the most famous Stoic philosophers, despite the fact that he didn't write anything himself. His teachings were written down by his student, Arrian, and they still inspire people today. Epictetus taught that we can't always control what happens in life, but we can control how we respond to it. His lessons on personal responsibility, emotional resilience, and living a virtuous life have influenced thinkers for centuries. Let's take a deeper look at who Epictetus was, what he believed, and how his teachings continue to matter. Early life of Epictetus. Epictetus was born around 55 CE in Hierapolis, a city in modern-day Turkey. From birth, he was a slave. His master was Epictetus, an important administrator under the Roman Emperor Nero. While living in Rome, Epictetus was able to study Stoic philosophy under Musonius Rufus, a well-known Stoic teacher. Even though he was a slave, Epictetus was deeply drawn to philosophy, particularly Stoicism, which emphasized living a good life by controlling your thoughts and actions. Epictetus's disability. Epictetus is believed to have had a severe physical disability. Some say that his master once twisted his leg so badly that it broke. Rather than reacting with anger or fear, Epictetus calmly remarked, "You will break my leg." And when it happened, he simply said, "I told you so." This story, whether true or not, reflects the kind of mental discipline and control over emotions that Epictetus would become famous for teaching, gaining freedom and teaching philosophy. At some point, Epictetus was freed from slavery, either by his master or by purchasing his freedom. After this, he became a teacher of philosophy in Rome. His school attracted many students, and he began to gain a reputation as a great Stoic philosopher. However, in 93 CE, the Roman Emperor Domitian expelled philosophers from Rome. Epictetus then moved to Nicopolis, a city in Greece, where he established a new school and continued to teach Stoicism until his death. Though Epictetus never wrote down his teachings, his student Arrian captured many of his lessons in the Discourses and the Enchiridion, also known as the Manual. These works remain key texts in Stoic philosophy today. The core teachings of Epictetus. Epictetus's philosophy is simple and practical. It focuses on what we can control and how we should deal with things beyond our control. His teachings offer wisdom on how to live a peaceful and virtuous life, no matter the circumstances. 1. The dichotomy of control. Epictetus's most famous teaching is the idea that there are things we can control and things we cannot. He divides everything in life into two categories. Things we can control. These include our thoughts, actions, desires, and reactions. In short, anything that comes from within us. Things we cannot control. These are external events, such as other people's behavior, our reputation, wealth, health, and death. These things happen to us, but we can't directly influence them. The key to happiness, according to Epictetus, is to focus only on what we can control, our own actions and thoughts. If we stop worrying about what we can't control, we free ourselves from frustration, anxiety, and disappointment. One of his most famous quotes from the Enchiridion explains this clearly. Some things are up to us and some are not. Our opinions are up to us, and our impulses, desires, aversions, in short, whatever is our own doing. But our body, possessions, reputation, or public office are not up to us. In other words, if we focus on what's within our control, we can live a more peaceful and fulfilling life. 2. Acceptance of fate. Amor fati. Another key idea in Epictetus's teachings is the acceptance of fate. Life is full of things we cannot control, and the Stoic way is to accept those things calmly and rationally. Epictetus encouraged his students to love fate, in Latin, amor fati, to embrace everything that happens, even the difficult parts of life. This doesn't mean giving up or being passive. Instead, It's about realizing that while we can't control everything, we can control how we react to the world. For Epictetus, it's important not to fight against life's challenges, but to meet them with courage and wisdom. One of his quotes captures this attitude well. "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." 3. Virtue is the only good. Epictetus, like other Stoics, believed that the only real good in life is virtue. Virtue means living according to reason and doing what is right, regardless of circumstances. Unlike wealth, health, or fame, things that can be taken away, virtue is entirely within our control. It's about how we act and how we live. For Epictetus, living a virtuous life is about making choices that align with reason and nature. Virtue isn't something abstract, it's practical. It's reflected in how we behave every day, how we treat others, and how we handle both success and failure. 4. Emotional discipline. A central part of Epictetus's teachings is the idea of controlling our emotions. Stoicism teaches that negative emotions like anger, fear, and jealousy arise from wrong judgments about the world. For example, if you believe that external things like wealth or approval from others are crucial for happiness, you're more likely to experience frustration or disappointment. Epictetus argued that by changing our thinking, we can avoid being controlled by negative emotions. Instead of reacting emotionally to every situation, we can choose to respond calmly and thoughtfully. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions, but mastering them through reason. For instance, if someone insults you, Epictetus would say that it's not the insult that hurts you, but your interpretation of it. If you recognize that the insult is just another person's opinion and not something you control, you can choose not to be upset by it. 5. Practical philosophy for daily life. Epictetus didn't believe philosophy was just something to be studied in books. He believed that philosophy should be lived. He taught his students that it wasn't enough to know the principles of Stoicism. They had to apply them every day. This practical approach to philosophy made his teachings accessible to anyone, whether they were wealthy or poor, powerful or powerless. He encouraged self-examination as a way to improve oneself. He advised his students to reflect on their actions and decisions at the end of each day, asking themselves whether they lived according to Stoic principles. One of his famous pieces of advice was, "When you are about to undertake some action, remind yourself of what sort of action it is." By being mindful of our actions and intentions, we can live a more deliberate and virtuous life. Major works: the Discourses and the Enchiridion. Epictetus never wrote his own ideas down, but his student Arrian captured his teachings in 2 key works. 1. The Discourses. The Discourses are a collection of informal talks and discussions given by Epictetus to his students. They cover a wide range of topics, from how to deal with difficult people to how to cope with adversity and maintain peace of mind. The Discourses offer practical advice for living a good life and staying true to Stoic principles. 2. The Enchiridion, Manual. The Enchiridion, which means handbook or manual, is a shorter and more condensed version of Epictetus's teachings. It serves as a simple guide to Stoic living, summarizing the key principles of how to live a virtuous and content life. Because of its straightforward and practical nature, the Enchiridion has been widely read and influential throughout history. Epictetus's legacy and influence. Epictetus's teachings have had a lasting impact on Western philosophy, ethics, and even psychology. 1. Influence on Marcus Aurelius. One of Epictetus's most famous students, though indirectly, was Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and another important Stoic philosopher. Marcus often referred to Epictetus in his own philosophical writings, especially in his Meditations, where he echoes many of the lessons about control, virtue, and resilience. 2. Influence on Christian thought. Early Christian thinkers, including Augustine, were influenced by Stoicism, especially its ideas about inner virtue and accepting life's challenges. Although Christianity and Stoicism have different spiritual beliefs, both traditions emphasize the importance of personal responsibility, humility, and self-discipline. 3. Modern influence. Epictetus's philosophy has also shaped modern self-help and psychological practices. For example, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, a widely used psychological approach, shares similarities with Epictetus's teachings. Both focus on how changing one's thoughts can change one's emotional experience. By challenging negative beliefs and assumptions, CBT aims to help people manage anxiety and depression, much like how Epictetus taught his students to master their emotions through reason. His works are still widely read and continue to inspire people who seek wisdom on how to handle life's challenges with grace, courage, and peace of mind. Conclusion: Epictetus's timeless wisdom. Epictetus's life and teachings show that no matter what circumstances you are born into, whether as a slave or a free person, true freedom comes from within. His philosophy, which focuses on controlling our thoughts and actions, accepting fate, and living virtuously, remains as relevant today as it was in ancient Rome. His legacy lives on, not only in philosophy, but also in everyday life. Epictetus's practical advice on how to navigate challenges, face hardships, and maintain emotional resilience continues to offer timeless wisdom for anyone seeking to live a better, more fulfilled life.